Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Pitchside Perspective podcast. This week, we're delighted to be joined by John Gordon, a businessman now turned football club owner. If you're a fan of the Wrexham story of turning a team from the lower leagues into a powerhouse, then you won't want to miss this episode. Hear the story from John as he's now taken over Armoy FC in the Cypriot 5th Division. Listen in as he takes his business ideas from his career into now as an owner of a club in the 5th Division and trying to get them into the top division and one day into Europe. You won't want to miss this episode. We also like to thank our sponsor, Groundhopper Soccer Guides, for making this possible. Now sit back and enjoy.
1, 2, 3, 4.
So, Jack, we're back. We're back again with another interesting story this week about obviously ownership and taking over a club. But when I talk about ownership, Chelsea's ownership is a little bit interesting. But I feel like they're slowly making headlines, and especially last weekend, getting that win. What's your thoughts on as a manager running down that touchline and celebrating your players? Are you doing that or not?
Well, am I doing it? Maybe I don't think it's in my personality, but I don't mind it. I think that's a genuine reaction to a last minute winning goal that's fair. Obviously, he has to have the card and sent off the bill, which isn't ideal. Well, it's understandable, isn't it? It's not a planned celebration for the cameras. It's emotion, it's instinct. So I have no problem with it really. Although at the same time, I also have no problem with the referee rules of the game giving him a card as well.
Yeah, we're a stickler for the rules. I think it's frowned upon in the industry we're in, youth coaching. I don't think my under-12s game I'm going to be running down the touchline. But some interesting stories, I think, this weekend Premier League. I mean, Liverpool really in the opening have really scratched through games a little bit and just got away with it with the skin of their teeth and obviously losing the last 3 games. What do you make of that?
It's interesting, right? Because I think when they were getting those last-minute winners, we probably looked at it and said that's what good teams do, that's what champions do. They find a way to win. Think about the champions of the past coming up with last-minute goals to win matches or even equalise matches. And then kind of expected them to then kick on and all these new signings to really find their feet and go and really beat up some teams. But it's been the opposite of that. It kind of looks like those last-minute winners were a little bit of disguise on maybe some bigger issues. But also, every team at some point in the season are going to have a little bit of a blip. Maybe this is theirs for the season and they'll kick on now afterwards, after the break, which probably comes at a good time for them just to kind of settle back in and get things going again and kick on from now.
You typically see it, right? The team that win the league the following year struggle a little bit at times. I see it with obviously United back in the noughties and those times. And Man City, you're probably the only team that really back-to-back have been able to truly do it. But definitely going to be interesting the next few weeks after the international break and seeing if Liverpool pick it back up. Talking about Premier League, it's my time this week to give you the Guess Who player. A little bit disappointed. I got 0 points last week and I've had a few people confirm that rightly so I should have had 0 points, that I've now lost friendship with them. But whatever, I'm going to give you the first 2 clues now, then we'll come back at the end and see if you can get it with an extra 3 more clues. So get yourself set.
I'll write this down, yeah.
So this player has played and scored for 7 different Premier League clubs.
Wow.
Any first guesses?
So maybe a striker that's moved around a lot. I'll say someone like a Peter Crouch. Let's just throw a name in there.
You're locking Peter Crouch in for that?
Yeah.
All right. Clue 2. This might change your mind. Well, it definitely will change your mind. This Welsh international has previously won the PFA Young Player of the Year.
I'm starting to think about Craig Bellamy.
Don't think Peter Crouch is Welsh, by the way.
No. Did Craig Bellamy play for 7 different clubs? I'll go with Craig Bellamy for now.
Okay. You're locking Craig Bellamy in?
Yeah.
All right. Well, come go on. You want to know? You want to change it? I'll allow you to change it.
No, that's my answer. I'll go Craig Bellamy.
Okay. All right. Well, before we get into it, obviously, I see you wearing a souvenir you brought back from Portugal. What you got on?
Yeah, well, you know the rules. If you go on vacation, you got to buy a jersey when you're there, right? Of the team from that country. So went to Portugal, got a sporting shirt, third kit, something a bit different.
Yeah, I feel like when you go abroad, you've always got to get a kit. But like, I typically go for like the third choice of the training kit. Like, I think they're just a little bit more snazzy. I've gone a little bit more old school. This was actually the shirt I wore when I was an under 18s player, when I was like 17 or so, and it still fits me. This shows how baggy the shirts were back then. And I know I haven't grown much and I haven't got much muscle on me, but it's still ginormous on me.
Yeah, that on a cold, windy Sunday morning is not doing you any favours.
And the interesting thing, we went for the Playboy Bunny as the logo, which is definitely an interesting one. But going to give a shout out to my local Sunday League team, Coney Hall. But yeah, we
That'll
weren't
be
the best, but
interesting to talk about ownership later and how you decide to go on a badge like that.
yeah, definitely. Talking about obviously different uniforms and that, we see John wearing his Armoy FC shirt. John, welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me.
Of course, it's great to see you representing the team that we're going to be talking about all today, kissing that badge. And I'm sure we're going to be doing that over the years as you progress into the Europa League one day. But
Yeah.
before we get into that story, Jack's going to give you some quick fire questions.
Yeah, the fire quick fire or not so quick fire questions. First of all, name,
John Gordon,
favourite team,
Man United.
favourite kit,
The black Man United kit when Cantona was playing with the stringy neck.
it's a good one. Is that the one where he's like swinging around the goalpost when it's scoring?
Yes, yes.
Best player seen live.
Got to be Messi and when he played against United in the Champions League final or the finals where he scored.
Yeah. Won the
Popular
game
answer.
Yeah. And then lastly, best sporting memory.
Probably when I personally won some medals when I played for Heriot Watt in the finals at university.
There you go. A good player
Very
back in the day.
nice.
No, terrible. But I tried hard.
So I've seen a few clips on social media. You've got a first touch, and I'll give you that from what I've seen. When you're joining the club here as failed players, you then try and find a different venture in the game. But yeah, no, John, great to have you on, and really excited to speak about this very new venture for you and kind of get into how it all started. Yeah, I mean, a Cypriot fifth division team. How did this all come about?
Yeah, I mean, I've always played youth for a few teams in Scotland, and then went to Heriot Watt, where I played there. I scored a few goals for Heriot Watt with my and up to very recently, before I left to come to Cyprus about a year ago with my family, I was playing with the Heriot Watt over 35s team. So I was always very, love it, enthusiastic about the game. Like I say, wasn't much of a player, but I was enthusiastic, and I started my own betting company based on fantasy football. Really passionate about it, and I'm a chemical engineer, and me and my friends sort of are maths guys, so but we're also fanatic about football. It just made sense that one day I would own a football club, and then it just so happened I was playing here in Cyprus with some guys, and I was training with them, and they asked me to come along, and it made a bit of sense. One of my mates just bought into Rafe Rovers, and I've always thought one day when I had enough money, I'll buy one of the clubs in Europe. So I thought, why don't we buy a club here and take them to Europe? So we're now on this journey, taking a fifth division team in Cyprus all the way to European competition. So it's quite exciting.
I think the first thing that hits me, probably not a bad place to live and own a club, Cyprus. I've probably had worse places in Europe you could have bought a club. What took you to Cyprus? Why buying a club in Cyprus as one of those?
Yeah, so I moved out here with my family. My wife was born here, and I brought my family over here and I'm working here for a good work life balance. I own a company in the UK. I'm on the board of several others, but it just made sense that I'm able to. It's an online software company, Incentive Games, and it's doing very well, and I'm able to work here. Yeah, and it just whilst I was here, it just made a lot of sense to sort of invest into the community, and I'm doing that as well, right? So I'm friends with the guys here, and it's a little village club. I've got outside investment. I've got sponsorship from all over the world, including Canada, the UK, and my company here, Incentive Studios, and the away kit's fully sponsored. It's amazing the support we've got, and being able to live that dream, right? To the championship manager dream, where you're moving up through the leagues and taking them all the way, doing things properly. And for some reason, there is a chance, right? Look at Paphos FC. I saw them the other night against Bayern Munich. They got beaten, but they're in the Champions League, and it's in fact 5 or 7 years ago they were bankrupt, right? And if you look at trying to get into Europe, in Scotland even or England, no matter how good Wrexham are, you need to get past Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, dare I say one day Man United again. There's always going to be that huge amount of teams. Whereas in Cyprus or Kazakhstan, there's not that big a gap to get to Europe and the European competition. So it's a bit of fun, but also I really believe in it, and I'm investing in it, and we've got investors all over the world going along the journey with.
That's a brilliant. It's great to hear, obviously, a local community and giving back to that community. Obviously, you said there that it's a local club. How would you describe it to somebody who has never heard of it before in the club? How would you describe maybe the environment of the club, the culture of the club, and what you're trying to do there?
Yeah, so it's in Cyprus, which is obviously a hot, small island, but it's quite high in up in the mountains, so it's the altitude and makes it a bit cooler. So there's a beautiful climate. It's a small village. They've got a little pitch there, a church, a taverna, and before now, I doubt many other people knew Armo. It's pronounced Armoy. Sorry, Armo, but it's spelled Armoy. So few people outside of Cyprus would have known about this little village, and we're looking to put them on the map and bring them along with the journey. So I'm doing it. I'm very respectful for the community members there and making sure that they're happy with the way we're doing things. But it's such a quiet little village with traditional values they're happy to go into the fourth or third division. Never mind the first and second. It's really it's a heartwarming little village with this true, honest, hardworking that loves their football like all of us. And I'm just trying to make that little fairy tale for the village and the surrounding areas.
That's brilliant. I think straight away this story shows that you're doing things for the right reason. You're not just you see a lot of owners out there, especially in modern culture, just buying a club for the sake of buying a club of a social status. But it seems like you're doing it for the right reason. Have you always wanted to be an owner of a club, or what is the inspiration behind doing it?
It's strange that if I hark back to, I think it was about 12, 13 years ago, I used to live in Trinidad and Tobago. So it's a small island in the Caribbean. And I was a player back then. And there was only three divisions in Trinidad. And I played for a team that Terry Fenwick. So I don't know if you remember Terry Fenwick. He played for England against Maradona in the World Cup. And he was a manager of Portsmouth. And he came over to Trinidad and he won the league there several years. He started a team called Football Factory, and I played for his team, and it gave me a lot of inspiration, right? So we were in the third division. Had all these ex-internationals played for our team because of Terry, guys that played in the World Cup and stuff that maybe were on the bench or a bit older now. So we got promoted, and I was playing centre mid or on the wing. And then when Terry got a job in the professional team again, in professional leagues again, and he made me player manager. I was only 30 or something at the time. And I remember him told me, make sure you don't play yourself every week. And I was like, I know what you're trying to say. Anyway, I played myself, centre mid every week, player manager, trying to trying to coordinate all these guys. Anyway, we got relegated. But the point of the story was, I'm not a good football player or manager, but I would always thought it'd be great to own a club. And seeing him build that there in the academy. I'm from grassroots, right? We had all these really talented young footballers. To this day, 10, 12, 15 years later, he's got all these academy and all these young footballers going through the ranks, making it, going playing internationally in these different clubs. And yeah, I've probably had it in my blood since then. You know yourself, growing up a football manager or championship manager and fantasy Premier League and Soccer Saturday and all these retro kits, and I'm one of them that just would love to just be part of it. And you've seen all these owners come in and do things for the wrong reasons, and I'd love to just do things properly.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. Obviously, you want to do it the right way, and obviously, you've spoken about playing and coaching in the past. How then hands-on are you as an owner? If you were to summarize yourself as an owner, are you a Roman Abramovich that's going to pump money into a club, or are you going to be maybe in the background a little bit more? How would you describe you as an owner of a club?
I'm pretty hands-on. I still play. I still play when they need me. So I'm the kind of guy that I get the sponsorship, I get the budget, I know the players, I try and attract the players, I go and speak to them. But also I'm respectful, right? 'Cause the people, the other part of the club, I let them, I give them autonomy to do this stuff. But no, I do. I'm going to be there. I think a good thing for me would be about what I'm trying to put my role is now is sponsorship and putting Armoy FC on the map. So it's like I'll do a weekly blog. Come along with me as I take Armoy FC from 5th Division to Europe. And then we'll do little highlights of the match and then give out man of the match and some haggis and put a bit of personality behind it. I think if you see on my LinkedIn, I use people that are really good at like ex-Paddy Power marketing people to help me sort of get a bit of guerrilla marketing. And we'll be doing the same here, and I think that's part of it as well. You need to market it in a way that people are going to buy into it and follow the journey. I think that's my role, really, although I'd love to play, but I'm too old.
You mentioned a little bit about the existing community around the club and the location, and then obviously attracting these new followers along. How do you balance that kind of respecting the tradition and the existing fans and community of people involved in the club with this new modern approach of bringing in new supporters and new followers?
Look, the guys are going to hear this podcast as well, but it's not just the supporters, I'm also bringing in lots of players. So not just me personally, but what's happening around the club. So we're attracting players from the 1st Division and the 2nd Division, because believe it or not, the 5th Division of Cyprus is a tough league to get out of. It's actually, because it's not the top three go through, the top three go to a playoff with 12 other teams. So it's a bit of luck of the draw as well, but you also need to make sure that you're respecting the fans and make sure you're not moving the ground too quickly, and make sure that they're along with the transition and we're not moving too quickly such that they feel that they're losing the club as well. And we've all had those horror stories as well. So you do need to be respectful and mindful and give them the face time and explain to them what the vision is. And it's not to leave the club behind or the people behind it. It's to try to make this international story. If they're all along with the journey, we need to get their buy-in as well.
It's definitely interesting. I think, again, you're doing the right things in terms of like finding the balance between the heritage and then bringing in this new world of the game. When you speak about obviously taking ownership, the one thing that springs to my mind is the big success story of Ryan Reynolds and Rob McElhenney taking over Wrexham. And the one thing that they have done probably the best that I've ever seen is the marketing of it. Obviously going with the documentary, and that marketing is really what's leveraged their success and been able to build them. Do you take maybe inspiration from stories like that, or is there maybe other inspiration out there that you want to follow to really push Armoy to the?
Yeah, I think I tried to get on that investment when it happened. So I knew, like anybody would have known, I would have flown, and they were very closed to who was doing it, and I missed out on it. But there's no two ways about it. You know, the mega superstars of the world. I mean, I can leverage a little bit of the people that we know, and I think as we go through travel through the leagues, because I'm doing it for the long term. It's definitely a playbook that you want to sort of leverage. In the short term, we do guerrilla marketing. We do come along with me, and we try and build it like that. But yeah, I mean, it's a phenomenal story of theirs, and I respect them enormously.
Yeah, and it's obviously I've watched their documentary, and they faced a lot of challenges along the way. What have been some of the early challenges? Obviously, this is still new to what you're doing, but what have been some of these early challenges you've had to face, and how have you conquered them?
I mean, budget is one thing, right? So believe it or not, all the players get paid in the fifth division in Cyprus here. So you need a budget, attracting all the players. And then I only took ownership a few weeks ago, or thereabouts. And I mean, I've got quite a big following on LinkedIn. That's not a blog, you know. That's not the biggest thing in the world, but I've got the ear of business people. But unfortunately, although we had a lot of people saying we'll sponsor the front of the jersey for whatever I agreed, and then when it goes to get signed off by someone in the multinational company, they're like, we're spending this money on a fifth division Cypriot club. They don't know the context and stuff. And then whoever signed off didn't get it. So it has been a little bit challenging. That said, we did get, many sponsors. So we got Segev, law firm in Canada, Digital Footprints in the UK, my company, Incentive Studios in the UK. We've got Extreme Push in the UK, and several others that I'm gonna need to remember during this call. But yeah, so budgeting was a big thing, and then a pitch that we're able to train on and such. There's a little bit of politics along the way that we need to make sure that everybody's aligned. It's it's been an exciting few weeks, ups and downs, and I think it all comes together on Sunday when we go on the pitch for the first game and see how we go on together as a team.
So you speak about obviously the first games. How's the team looking? How's the club looking now? You've obviously been there a couple of months. What is the if somebody doesn't really know obviously what fifth division football looks like in Cyprus?
Yeah, I would say the third or fourth tier in Scotland. There, that'd be about right. They could, on their best day, give an Air United, that sort of level, a good go. So they probably get paid a bit more than the same level in the UK, certainly in Scotland. Yeah, I'm used to that sort of analogy.
It's an interesting you said there about obviously the comparison with like playing in Scotland. It's one of those that when you think about going back to what you said about champ manager, football manager, a lot of people probably listened to this, played that game and tried doing exactly what you're doing. I know for me, I would try and take my local team all the way to the Premier League. Obviously, your goal is to get to the highest level you can in Cyprus and get to that first division, playing in Europe. How are you looking also to measure success? Is it through the promotions or is it through growth of the club? Because I feel like you could go different ways here.
Yeah, I think we need to get the promotions right, and I seen it firsthand where I think last season Paphos just missed out on the Champions League. They did quite well in the Europa leagues, and then we saw such a massive gulf when they did make it. They got to the Champions League, and now they're playing against Bayern Munich, and I respect the Paphos project enormously. But watching Bayern Munich play against them, there was a massive gulf. So even every time you go along that journey, I've seen whether it's Rafe Rovers trying to get to the SPFL, or Wrexham trying to get to the Premier League, or Salford. it's always an ebb and flow, right? You reach your limit, you get your drawbacks, and then you need to push through again. And I think that's what we're trying to do. And I do it in business. I've got quite a successful business eventually over the years. And every time, when I hit my limit, we take our bruises, we take our drawbacks, but every time we push through again. And I think we've got so many of those to go through from here. I'm excited about it, such that it's not give me undue stress. But when you get to those heights, that's when you need to start worrying it. I mean, like saying, where did Paphos go, right? Because they've got David Luiz, they've got a good team in Cyprus, but how did is now the measure of success getting through those different levels within Europe? For me, it's going through promotion, getting awareness, getting more sponsorship, making sure that everything's done on a solid basis, growing the community online as well, and the exposure. Those are the sort of things we're looking for.
You touched on there in terms of progression, you need the players, right? So David Luiz will be great, but right now he kind of building that squad to push the team forward. You also mentioned that maybe compared to the equivalent type of player in Scotland, they're actually getting paid more money in Cyprus. So there's definitely some attraction in coming and playing for a club like yours. What are some of the reasons why players want to join? And also, what are some of the barriers that might make it difficult to attract players?
The barriers, I'm glad you touched on it. The barriers is actually the amount of foreigners you're allowed in Cyprus. So we're only allowed 7 foreign players, and we've got. I mean, if we didn't have that limit, I would probably still be playing, if I'm honest. But we've got that limit, so we need a lot of the Cypriot locals, and I think it's a good and bad thing, right? I mean, is the Cypriot national team getting noticeably better because of these rules? I don't know, but it's definitely stopping me our growth. But maybe it's a good thing. So that is a big barrier. So that would stop me taking players from Scotland and paying or Ukraine and giving them a decent package. But also, what we also have decided to do, Jack, is be more of a I pay everyone the same. So I think where you fall, we did it in Trinidad and we've done it here, or I've seen it here, where they'll pay one player X and everyone else gets nothing, or several players €1,000 a month, and a lot of players don't, which is perfectly normal and natural. But what we've decided to do is make sure everyone's on exactly the same. Because what you find is over time, especially at this level, if they miss training or they're the superstar, but they're not at this level. And I just feel like, for instance, after every game, what we do is all the families of the supporters and the players, we go for a meal. And it doesn't matter who you are, we'll pay for the table, we'll pay for the drink, pay for the meal. And we're trying to create that sort of atmosphere where people want to come, and maybe they don't all come for the meal, but they're invited and they see that we're doing that sort of thing. So I just want to do things differently as a club, as opposed to throwing money at players at this level. I want them to want to play for the club because of the community and because of the way we do things.
Yeah, it sounds like you're trying to set the right culture. And how important is it for you to have that right culture? Because I feel like you could easily go into the way of just signing names or players on big contracts, like you said there, just to obviously help promote the club. So how important is it for the right characters to come in here and the right people, like you said there, that want to be on this journey, and selling them that it's not a 1-year project. It's going to take time, but you're going to get there. So how important is it to sell the culture to these new players?
Exactly it. So, if you've got egos, or if you've got, they don't, I mean, I'm not going to go into the details, but if something happens and someone's, throws the toys out the pram, and it's like, in my business, I've got almost 100 employees at one point, and I deal with my clients are Bet365 and Fangio and many other operators, and I'm the CEO and co-founder. So I'm used to things. We're going as best as you can, but things go wrong, and we've seen that within the club. You start something and someone doesn't like something, and then they think, "Oh, that's it." And I'm like, "No, we've got the players, we've got the budget, we've got the pitch, we've got the community." And if someone has a hissy fit or something, then I just keep cool, and I'll let them know that the most important thing is People can come and go, but we're here for the long term. We've got this culture. It's a community. Look, if we lose the first game against Tala, so be it. It's not a one and done. We just learn and get on with it. We win and lose as a team, and I've been around and where there's a scapegoat. Someone wants to blame the winger or the guy that missed the penalty. No, we're doing things differently from the ground up. And as long as they understand that, and I'm true to it, which I've done with other clubs and companies I've worked for, then that's what I'm excited about, and just doing things on a solid basis.
It definitely seems like you're a level-headed owner, which is great to see because there's a lot of hothead owners out there. And I think with also you being a Man United fan as well, you've heard week after week systems of play and how the team has to play and Ineos being involved. For you, do you want to pass down to the coaching staff, the players, a certain type of football play? Like, do you want Armoy to be known as a certain style of team, or are you looking to go whatever style gets us promoted?
Yeah, I think in fairness, the coaches are the ones that brought me in. I've got a lot of trust in them, and they brought the players. So I definitely believe in letting them get on with their job, certainly at this level, and making sure that we're just being fair to the players, and that's all I can ask. And I'll leave the tactics. We train on Paphos FC training pitches. So when they're finished training, we've got the best facilities, got great coaches for this level, guys that played for Schalke, Latvian internationals. So it's like let them do it out there. As long as they're respectful and they've got the same values as me, they've got a job for life.
And I think that's the right way of doing it. You want to get, as you've mentioned earlier, with the playing staff, it's the same with the coaching staff. You want to get the right people to do the right jobs and allowing that degree of trust. It's funny speaking to you now is if you could now maybe go back to day one of becoming an owner, is there anything you maybe would have done differently?
No, because it was only a few weeks ago. But I have learned a lot. But look, I think it's the way I do things as well in all the businesses I do and not everything. I don't prepare for things too much because you can't really catch me out. As long as I've always got that same consistent mentality that I'm not going to cut corners where I'm going to do things the right way. I'm going to make mistakes, but it's with the information I've got at the time, and you just continue like that. If I'm honest.
And I think it's like you've mentioned there, the mistakes are going to help you grow as an owner and grow as a club. When you talk about obviously the growth of the club, what does the journey look like for you? Obviously, you said the ultimate goal is to get into European competitions, but what does 6 months' time, 5 years' time, how does the journey look for Armoy?
Yeah, I mean, professional is at second division, so get through the ranks, get into a true professional. Make sure we've got a solid stadium that's got capacity and the right community, so coffee shops and the surrounding facilities around there. That to me is a success where we make Armour a professional club and we continue to build from there. That to me is what we're really going after.
And it's going to obviously take time and it's not going to happen overnight. How important is patience going to be with you as an owner here and understanding that there is going to maybe be some hiccups along the way, but there's also going to be some great times. So how do you find the balance as an owner I think you could probably look at it as a Man United fan, and Sir Alex Ferguson always would say they would go win the Premier League, but the next day they're focused on the next stage. So how do you find that balance as an owner to take the memorable moments in, but then look to the next one?
Yeah, and it's when you become relatively successful in business, when you take that long view, it's like I'm not, it's not a be all and end all the next game. I'm really looking at this season as a free hit and learning a lot. And then next season and just building on that. And when you take a long view, you've got a much better, or in business, what we say is an infinity approach. It's not, you're not trying to get the next quarter results because then long term, you're not really hitting what you really should be hitting. And if you have that long term approach, you can be a lot less chaotic, a lot less anxious about every bump in the road because you know they're going to happen. I mean, in being a Man U fan, it's painful. I remember when it was all rosy, but look what happens to Rangers, or they get in an administration, and the long term view is if they're built enough on the right solid grounds, you will get back to where you should be, and that's what I believe. So
It's interesting as well because when you first came on, you spoke obviously your background's chemical engineer, been in the world of business. Is there any parts of your business career that you've now taken into what it is now from a sporting, so taken from a business point of view into a sporting point of view now?
100%, all of it. I think that's why I'm so calm and quite confident, because I've been in business, my own business, for so long now that this isn't very stressful for me. But we, as you touched on earlier, is like in my company, I give everybody the autonomy. So I find that we take a long time to find the right people, and when we find the right people, we give them the autonomy to do their job. And so I'm not time managing. I'm not looking over their shoulder. We do a 4-day week that's remote, and my guys deliver because I trust them and they trust me, which makes life a lot easier to then, look at the bigger picture, or give them the resource that they need, instead of trying to catch them out because they went to a dentist appointment at 10:30, or they picked their son up early from school. I don't care about that. I trust them that they're adults, they're able to live their life, and if you're not trying to catch people out, you've got a lot more bandwidth to look at the bigger picture.
I think you're 100% spot on there. And I think you've got to have that degree of trust in every single person to be able to function in their job. And I think for you, as you progress, hopefully throughout the leagues, is it going to be a case of looking to trust the staff and the playing staff, as well as maybe upgrading in certain areas? Because obviously, once you start getting into the professional realms of the game, there's going to be a lot more staff required and background behind it. So how important is it to balance that trust with also upgrading every so often so you can establish yourselves as a professional team?
Yeah, I think it's the way it's done. If it's done respectfully, and look, another thing, we're in full combat competition, right? Whether it's business or football pitch, and I've been there when I didn't make the team, or when I played for youth, I didn't make the first team senior squads, right? I've been there, and it's heartbreaking, but that's the real world, and as long as it's done properly and in a respectful manner, it is the natural selection, isn't it? Yeah. And
Yeah,
there's plenty of examples that Swansea or any of the clubs where they did go all the way through Leicester with some of the same players, but unfortunately, some of the players didn't make it as well.
and I think that's the dog eat dog world that football is in. It's an industry where, yes, you want to have the fairy tale moment, and you want somebody who's with you day one to be with you all the way until the final moment. But we have to realize and come to terms that it doesn't always work like that in football. And we're not always blessed to be able to carry people along the way. But it seems, again, I'm going to reiterate this, that you've got the right message, you've got the right culture around you. And I think you're going to be successful just based on that. Obviously, you've got the business side of it too. Kind of as we look to wrap up this conversation, one question that springs to my mind is, how did your friends and family take it when you said, I've just bought a team in Cyprus and they're in the 5th division? Surely there must have been some looks on those faces.
They were shocked. Shocked isn't the word. They were laughing because even my dad, who's quite a humble guy from a little town in Scotland, was just like, I'm not, nothing you could tell me surprises me anymore. My clients at Bet365 messaging me saying that's the most Johnny G thing I've ever seen. It's like, it is just something I would do. And yeah, and even like the Bet365 guys, they own Stoke, and they're always part of that, and it's just like a thing to do. But yeah, I was actually surprised. I told my wife, I said, look, I'm looking to buy this club. What do you think? And I told her about the other people involved, and she just laughed, and she's like, go for it. Because she knows what I'm like as well, and she loves it. She loves the sort of how random it is. So yeah, it's
No, I think random is a great word to use, but also an inspiration to use, because why do something traditional when you can go a little bit left field and go this route? And I mean, I'm excited to keep an eye on the journey, hopefully soon I can log into one of my score apps or my betting apps and start betting on Armoy as well, and start putting it in there and adding it to my accumulator of a weekend.
so
But no, I think this story is a story to keep track with, and I would encourage any listeners to this, get following on social media, because I certainly feel like this could potentially blow up, and it might not be an overnight success, but it is going to get there, and it seems like you've got the right ideas and you're going to get there.
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
But before we do conclude, we ask every guest that comes on the same question to finish off, and it's going to come from Jack, and it's going to be interesting. We've never had an owner on before, so it'd be interesting to see where this answer goes. But Jack, I'll hand you the mic.
Yeah, the last question is always the same question, which is, if you could change one thing about football, what would it be? On the field, off the field, anything is open.
The colour of the boots. I'm a black boots guy. I don't like all these pink and yellow boots.
There you go. Tradition.
Is that a rule that you're instilling into Armoy?
I think it would lose all my players. I got a guy that, in fact, if I made a rule that you're not allowed to smoke at half time, I would lose some of my players as well. That's the thing.
That's brilliant. I've got to ask you then, from Black Boots' point of view, what's your go-to pair of boots?
Copas. I got a new pair the other day, and I had a pair that I was showing my wife, and I was like, I've been wearing this for maybe probably 5 years, and I got myself a new pair of Copas, and the trainer version, so the Sambas. Yeah, I'm fully kitted out on the retro ones. Yeah.
Classic. No, I think they're one of the best boots I've ever had. But Jack, any final words from you?
A great choice on the Copas, obviously. Always a win when those ones. But I think you mentioned a really good point about how if you set out the foundation and the base correctly with the community and the culture, you're going to have ups and you're going to have a few downs on the way, but you have that solid base to kind of just always be springing you forward again when there is a blip, which I'm sure there will be at some point. But I'm forward along and I'm looking forward to seeing the journey.
Superb. And we will be posting, as of Sunday, you can watch the game, you can stream the games live. I'll put it on socials. And then they'll be doing like a 3 minute highlight for the short form as well. And I do thank you guys. I've been on a few podcasts over the years, but never as the owner of the club. So I'll always remember you guys for the start of this specific journey.
Well, one promise I can make you is I'm probably more likely to watch your club now than I'm Man United. As a Man United fan myself, it's pretty painful to watch at the moment. So any excuse to put on another game. But before we wrap up, Jack might need a little bit of your help. Jack, you've locked in Craig Bellamy as clue 2. I'm going to go ahead with clue 3 and see if it changes your mind at all. This player represented Great Britain in the Olympics in 2012.
Yeah, I remember. I'm pretty sure Craig Bellamy scored for Great Britain in the Olympics. So I'm going to stick with it.
Let me.
Yeah.
Big shout. Number 4. This player had 2 spells at Liverpool, including one spell where he lifted the League Cup.
I know it. I know.
I know he played for them. Did he have 2 spells there?
You tell me.
I'll stick with it just because I can't think of anyone else.
I mean, Fernando Torres sounds like he could be a Welsh name if you want to change it. But we'll finish off the last one. This player is now the manager of his national team.
Yeah, it's got to be Craig Bellamy, surely.
Craig Bellamy is the answer. That's a 4-pointer from me. That's a great one from you there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the scoreline here. It's not looking good for me. 10 points to you, 3 points to me, but I'm still claiming I should have had 5 points last week, so you've been harsh on me. No, finishing up, John, we wish you the best of luck. Hopefully, did you get Craig Bellamy in those guesses?
I did. As soon as I think your 2 first clues were too easy, and then I started doubting myself because I was like, it can't be that easy. But then, yeah, I think you're being too easy on Jack.
I disagree. I think that was a really, really tough one. Somehow pulled it out of the bag.
Yeah.
See, I'm trying to be nice to you, Jack. So then in return, you're back nice to me, but clearly not.
Darren Anderson is not a tough one to.
Exactly. That's why I got it. But anyway, we're not going to go through this argument again because we'll be cancelled on YouTube for some strong language. No, John, really appreciate it. We wish Armoy FC all the best of luck. Can't wait to follow this journey. We'll plug on the captions, the LinkedIn's, the social medias, the Instagrams, and we'll get it out there. But John, from both of us, thank you very much.
Thanks, gents. Pleasure.
And to listeners at home, we bid you a farewell.
1, 2,